Good evening, I'm Alice Stewart. Last night, KARK broadcast the final newscast from our studios here on 3rd Street. We're just moments away from a new beginning as News 4 Arkansas. We're going to take you to our brand new home just down from the Capitol. But before we turn out the lights here, we want to remind you of the wonderful history of KARK TV. This simple transmitter building on Carole Road sent out the first KARK signal. On April 15, 1954, KARK TV signed on the air from this converted auto dealership building at 10th and Spring Streets in Little Rock.
We were the new kid on the block. No one knew what to expect from us.
Chris Button was the station's first chief cameraman, setting the tone for news.
We had a record of always beating the fire department to fire.
We were the top dog in the market when we went on the air back then.
In 1976, Channel 4 moved to this converted bank building at 3rd and Louisiana.
My office was what was once the safe. So the walls were 2 feet thick and concrete and soundproof, and I guess I could say I felt safe in there.
We typed everything manually, and the rule was if you had more than 4 mistakes on a page that had to be crossed out, you had to throw it away and retype it.
Throughout the years, the technology has changed. The on-air look has taken on several new looks.
Dialing for dollars has been a staple on Channel 4 for, what, almost 40 years now. We spun a dial, and the count and the amount were set at the beginning of each show, and wherever the arrow landed, when we spun the arrow, that was the count and the amount for that day.
Disaster strikes a shuttle launch. I'm Roy Mitchell.
I'm Carolyn Long.
There have been countless familiar faces coming into our homes every night.
4 Eyewitness News. Tom Bonner with the weather, Dave Woodman with sports.
We invented Happy Talk at Channel 4 for this state, and people really got to know anchors and know their likes and hear their humor.
The thing that really sticks in my memory most is the kind of a family atmosphere that we had. We had a great team, the most wonderful people to work with.
Through it all, KARK has continued its commitment to the people.
Leader in the community, public affairs, very interested in what's going on in the community.
We were the talk not only of the city, but in the rural areas. Channel 4 was the station. I mean, everybody felt like they knew us.
Channel 4's dedication to news has and will continue to stand the test of time.
As far as I'm concerned, Channel 4 paved the way for the high viewership of television news in Arkansas.
Life could be a dream, sweetheart.
News 4 Arkansas. What is it? It's news for you. It's news about you, and now it's here for you.
We're excited to welcome you to News 4 Arkansas and the new Victory building we call home.
KARK is committed to a new era of news. Your news, because you're important to us. And it all starts now.
Come inside and join us. KARK is now News 4 Arkansas.
You're watching KARK, News 4 Arkansas at 10.
Firefighters rushed to this fire this evening in Little Rock. You may have seen the smoke yourself pouring from this business. It's our top story this Sunday evening, April 7th. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. I'm Denise Whitaker.
Hello and good evening, everybody. I'm Bob Clausen. Thanks for joining us for News 4 Arkansas. That fire you just saw started burning at a vacant lumber company happened this afternoon just before 5 o'clock.
Flames shot high into the air, and smoke could be seen throughout the entire downtown Little Rock area. News 4 Arkansas's Lyndall Stout joins us live with the details. Lyndall?
Denise and Bob, Little Rock firefighters haven't seen a fire like this in quite some time. It took less than 2 minutes for crews to arrive on the scene, and they spent the next 2 hours getting this huge blaze under control. Firefighters quickly launched an all-out attack from the air and on the ground, battling fast-moving flames that kept burning higher. The enemy, the old Grove-Meyer Lumber Company at 15th and Woodrow, no longer in operation, but still full of old materials and roofing supplies. Another obstacle, this train stopped on the tracks next to the burning building.
We had 3 or 4 of the cars that began to get real hot, and we took hand lines and kept those cool.
People who call this neighborhood home watched in disbelief.
I thought it was going to be a big explosion.
Smoke could be seen for miles around. Huge billowing clouds filled the sky, a sign of the intensity of the fight at the heart of the fire.
I suppose from a fireman's standpoint, we watch our men work, and we watch and see what a good job they do, and they work real hard for the people in this city.
Now, even though fire destroyed the lumber company, thanks to the quick work of firefighters, no other buildings or homes were damaged. Investigators are now working to figure out how it all started. Bob and Denise.
Okay, Lyndall, thank you very much.
That fire was huge this afternoon. I mean, you could see it all over.
You could see it down. I mean, we just moved in here, and we're all standing around looking at the windows, looking at the plumes of smoke going up.
Wow. It's a great thing that it didn't spread to any other homes. You couldn't wait to get it when you were 16. These days, criminals can't wait to get their hands on your driver's license, or at least a license with your personal information.
News 4 Arkansas' Sincere Thompson joins us live with more on the weaknesses in getting ID verified. Sincere?
Denise, Bob, this will get you behind the wheel of a car and get you access to some things like bank accounts. But there are few consistencies between states about what qualifies you to get one.
Let me go get another bottle of wine.
The Pizza D action crowds are smaller on Sunday, but ID is still an issue. Employees recognize most of the regulars.
Whenever school's out, spring break, stuff like that, that's when we get most of the people trying to come in with the fake IDs.
This device reads the electronic information stored on licenses from Arkansas and several other states. If it doesn't read, they know it's not real. But not all restaurants nationwide have this technology.
I think there should be some sort of national standard. I think that, you know, either fingerprint, some sort of DNA, something should be implemented.
That feeling is part of the raging national debate about how to secure driver's licenses, cards that have almost become national ID cards. Directors of the American Association of Motor Vehicle Offices want national standards for obtaining licenses. Without those, the AAMV says criminals have the green light to shop around for weak link states. Since 9/11, one nationwide weakness stands out. A non-U.S. citizen who has a driver's license can do almost anything with it within American borders, even after their visa has expired. Denise, Bob?
Thanks, Sincere.
You'll also want to be on the lookout for a registered sex offender wanted by the law. In this week's Pulaski County's Most Wanted, we take a closer look at this man, 31-year-old David Edward Colvin. Colvin's wanted for failure to appear, aggravated robbery, theft of property, stalking, and drug charges. As I mentioned, he is a registered sex offender and considered armed and dangerous. Colvin has black hair and brown eyes, is 6'2" and weighs 200 pounds. You can also identify Colvin by a tattoo on his right arm and a scar on his leg. His last known address was 6012 Butler Drive in Little Rock. If you have any information on David Edward Colvin, call the Crime Stoppers tips line at 340-TIPS. That number again is 340-8477. You may receive a reward for any information that leads to an arrest and conviction, and you can remain anonymous. You can take comfort tonight knowing more methamphetamine made it off the streets of Pine Bluff. Pine Bluff police made a major drug bust. After several years of looking for 43-year-old Gary Wayne Metcalf, Pine Bluff police finally caught up with him. 15 officers served Metcalf with a warrant. When they searched his house, they found enough chemicals to make more than 6 ounces of meth. Officers also found guns. Metcalf faces drug charges and may also be charged with theft once that investigation is complete. This has certainly been a huge weekend for a blooming attraction in Hot Springs.
That's right. We're going to give you a look at Garvan Gardens. It's been opening weekend there. That is still ahead.
Well, central and eastern Arkansas been teased just a bit with rainfall, but the western part of the state really been hammered today with 1.5 inches near Fort Smith. We'll take you to a fresh new look of live forecast Doppler a little later in the show. But first, it's your forecast for the next 4 days. As we start off the beginning of the week, going to start it off wet, clearing up by Wednesday and Thursday, partly cloudy skies back into the mid and upper 70s. We'll have more weather a little bit later, but first, News for Arkansas continues in a moment.
At KARK, we're making changes for you.
You told us what you want, what you need from your news.
Beginning April 8th, you'll find News for Arkansas at KARK.
changing because you asked us to. And you're important to us. It's news for you. It's news for Arkansas.
You're watching KARK with Denise Whitaker and Bob Clausen. This is News 4 Arkansas at 10.
If you fly at all, you know about security changes. With major airports across the country leading the way in security, Little Rock National works to keep up step by step. A backup at Dallas and increased security caused these long lines at the Little Rock National Airport. A new program in Little Rock, however, helps take some of the burden off security, and they do it with a friendly smile.
It's something that we had to go through. You know, it's unpleasant, but you do what you have to do.
Little question that people want, like where are the restrooms, where are the elevators, the escalators, and we can answer those questions, and the security people don't have to worry about that.
Little Rock Airport just added its Angel Squadron of volunteers, and as she told us, they're there to answer any general questions you have about the airport.
The State Board of Education is taking recommendations tomorrow on what to do with the Student Instructional Program, or SIP. The program requires students to maintain a certain grade point average to participate in extracurricular activities, i.e. sports, but got into some trouble when some kids were found with inadequate grades. The board wants the Activities Association to take over monitoring of SIP. Hot Springs Garvan Gardens is a place that's been growing for nearly 40 years. The Botanical Haven is beginning to bloom this season. The grand opening of the gardens got underway with the ribbon cutting this afternoon. Plenty of applause there. You can enjoy the serenity of blooming flowers, trees, and waterfalls all along these paths. Berta Garvan developed this area as a tribute to natural conservation. Now, if you'd like to tour the gardens, the park is open Wednesday through Monday from 10 until 6.
And it was a great weekend to get out there and check out the gardens. Of course, the rain's now moving in.
Yeah, that's right. You know, we were crossing our fingers hoping it would hold off for most of the weekend, and for most of us it has, except for our friends in western Arkansas, but at least temperatures are not going to be changing that much. It's going to stay mild throughout the first part of your work week. We'll talk about those temperatures and more in just a moment. But first, a look at your almanac.